Well, good morning, all. It is 9 o'clock, and welcome to all those in the chambers and online this morning. So if you are able, please stand and we'll sing the national anthem. And I would ask when we're done the anthem to remain standing for a moment of silence in recognition of the passing of former Councillor Jim Frew.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you. Indeed, I was saddened to hear of the passing of Jim a few days ago. Jim was always a very engaged councillor when he was on council, and those of you that maybe knew him knew that his relationship with the Crown was somewhat complicated. So I know the King will be acknowledging his passing, I'm sure, as well. So thank you. Joan, you are to do the land acknowledgement, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, everyone. As we gather, we recognize and acknowledge the traditional keepers of this land with whom we share today. The Township of Southgate is a part of the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Six Nations of the Grand River, Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, Haudenosaunee, and Saugeen Métis. The land that surrounds us is a part of who we are as it reflects our histories. May we live in peace and friendship with all its diverse people. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up for open forum?
None today, Mayor.
Very good, thank you. Can I have a confirmation of the agenda as presented? Martin, Jim, thank you. All those in favor? That is carried. Don't believe we have any delegations. Oh, I missed the declaration. Sorry, my mistake. Has anyone got a interest to declare regarding any item on the agenda today? Barb.
I will be declaring a conflict with regard to the first item in closed session, a proposed or potential acquisition or disposition of land. Is that the right one? 14.1? 14.2, apparently, with regard to litigation or potential litigation, as the subject matter has a nexus with my property.
Very good. Thank you, Barb. Anyone else? Okay, not hearing any others, but if something should arise during the meeting, you are free to declare it at that time. Adoption of the minutes from the April 15th council and closed session meetings. Jim will move. Jason will second. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Reports of municipal officers. We'll start with the Recreation Department, and we have a report regarding the arena structural inspection funding request. Someone care to move that, please? Jim, second by Joan. Thank you. Taylor.
Okay, so Kevin put this report forward, and in his absence, I'll take over. So it's recommended every 5 years there's a structural inspection of the arena. It was budgeted in the 2026 budget for $2,000. The quote received on behalf of Triton through RV Anderson is $9,412, and Kevin's requesting that we take the balance from the recreation reserve.
Okay, thank you, Taylor. Any questions, discussion? Not seeing, oh, Jason, go ahead, please.
Well, it's just, it's quite a difference from the 2,000 we put in the budget. I just wonder why we don't, do an RFP for something like that. Seems like a lot of money to me for this, take a
Yeah.
look around the arena.
I don't disagree.
Consultants.
We do have Dustin from Triton on. I don't know if he can speak to why there would be such a gap, or maybe why it was thought to be much lower. Sorry, Dustin.
Yeah, sorry. Unfortunately, it wasn't myself that managed this
Okay.
file, so I could look into that and get back to you. But I do know, just through some discussions, that there's definitely efficiencies, or there would be efficiencies having RVA Anderson do the structural analysis, because they have done it for years past. And so I would expect that this would be the most efficient option despite that difference.
Joan, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning. So since this is done, it is done what, every 4 years?
It looks like every 5.
Every 5 years? So for the past 5 and 5 before that, how much was it? Was it the $2,000 that was budgeted?
That I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that. Unfortunately, it was kind of last minute that I took over this report.
Oh,
so-
okay. And this structural inspection is to just inspect the entire arena for everything,
I believe so. Yeah, structurally. And
construction, everything. Oh, okay. Was just wondering about the past amounts. Thank you.
There is a certain amount of expertise on this particular style of building because it's what they call laminated wood. I believe it takes a specialized engineering inspector to do that kind of work. But I see Jim has his hand up. Go ahead, Jim, please.
Good morning, good people. Yeah, I think Brian kind of hit it there that this structure has wood timber meeting the concrete pad at the ground area, and that has been an area of concern over the past that's been looked at. And I think there has to be more detail probably within that part of the inspection, more likely.
Maybe Jim or Taylor, do you know how urgent this is? Like perhaps we could defer this for another couple of weeks and see if we could get some answers to the questions that are arising?
I'm assuming we likely could. I'm just gonna contact the AP staff member to see if she can pull that by the end of the meeting, but if not, we can just defer it,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Madam Clerk, would you suggest we refer this to later in the meeting, or should we wait a couple weeks?
I mean, I think regardless of what the past cost was, there's questions of kind of the details
Sure.
more. So
Yep.
I'm thinking refer back to staff, and then Kevin can get some more information.
Sure.
And hopefully, unfortunately, he couldn't be here, but
Okay,
if that's what council's thinking,
sure. So we need a motion to do that. If someone is interested, Jason, you'll move to refer it to the next council meeting?
Sure, whatever.
Yeah, okay. Seconder for that? Jim, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Taylor. Moving on to the planning department, we have a report here regarding the multitude of planning regulation changes that have been forthcoming from provincial government, and proposals for some comments from our staff back to the province through the ERO process. Someone care to move that, please? Jim, thank you. And Martin will second that. Bill, is that your? Ken is on. Oh, there's Ken online. Very good. Ken, go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning, your worship and members of council. My apologies, I'm not with you this morning, but my car has decided to have a different opinion of driving up to join you. So I'm remoting today. So this is one of 3 reports. We've divided this up a bit. And as you say, your worship, this is in response to a number of changes proposed by the province. Before I summarize things, I do want to extend my appreciation to the county planning team and planners throughout Grey County. We were able to come together as one group and discuss these changes or these proposals, and the township planning team was one of the groups that was leading the discussion. So your small but mighty team has been kind of helping to lead our understanding. I would note that both the mayor and deputy mayor will probably have heard some of this before, since you did receive a briefing from the county at the last county meeting, and that material is actually included in the agenda for today's council meeting in the consent package as item 11.8. As noted on pages 1 and 2 of the report, there are 11 different items that the province is seeking comment on. 13 if you count the other 2 reports. And before I go any further, Your Worship, if you want me to just skip to questions for the sake of time, or do a very brief outline, just which would you prefer?
Well, I think for the benefit of everybody here, let's do a high level summary, and then we can go to some questions if need be.
Okay,
Please.
I will do my best, but the most detailed analysis is in the report. So I'm going to go by registry file number. So ERO 260304 is seeking input into changes to the methodology on population and land supply projections. In order to implement changes from the new PPS in 2024, we are going to suggest that we defer to the county on the matter, since they are the ones who do the land supply, population, and job projection analysis per the Planning Act. Under ERO 260305 are proposed changes to the Planning Act to facilitate electronic submissions to approval authorities in the province, and that would include the County of Grey as our approval authority of official plans. Staff supports the proposed amendments to help simplify submissions, and have been using electronic submission options through various Ontario regulations for certain planning application, certain types of Planning Act applications, I should say. 260309, it proposes to prohibit enhanced development standards as condition of any land division application. So that would be a subdivision or a consent. This would apply to both. And so this may prevent requiring things like sound walls if a subdivision is adjacent to major highways or a roadway, although some clarity is needed on what exactly the province feels is enhanced development standards. It may also prevent additional landscaping, although should not impact stormwater management. It may also have the potential of precluding landscape features to enhance new communities, which, for example, the enhanced landscaping along the municipal drain in Edgewood Greens, it's unclear, so some clarity is required there. 0260310 is the most significant item, which is potential reform of site plan control. One option suggested is completely removing site plan control, as the province notes that municipalities are slow with approvals. Current timelines for site plans are 60 days, yet the township was recently notified by MTO that the review of a TIS, their typical timeline is 10 to 12 weeks. So if you do the math, we would already be behind. Now, while that wasn't a site plan, it gives you an idea of where, in staff's opinion, much of the delay comes from. And as council is aware, we've taken steps per Bill 109 to streamline approvals. We updated the site plan control bylaw, and we've been doing continuous improvement efforts to make sure that we are achieving our timelines. However, when we do see delays, it's usually, we can trace that back to delays with applicants in responding. Staff comments reflect concerns with the removal of site plan control and would leave municipalities to transition to the community planning permitting system if that's going to be the transition. And to actually do that, there's a significant amount of process under the Planning Act that has to be done. And we would suggest that if the province is going to make everybody do that, that they help offset some of those costs. ERO 260311 establishes through a regulation the minimum lot size that we had talked about when we briefed you on one of the previous bills many weeks ago, which would be a minimum of 175 square meters or 1,900 square feet for an urban serviced residential lot. So that's being on sewer and water. We have discussed at length, council and staff, that this one size fits all approach does not work for the township and would be nearly 50% less than the smallest residential lot size in the MZO areas. Staff do support the idea of a reduced lot size if the province is trying to encourage cottage housing clusters. That might enable some things like tiny homes. But generally, this blanket approach is not really appropriate in our opinion. ERO 260312 is about parkland. That's one of the next items, so we'll deal with that when we get there. 0313 relates to complete application requirements and standardizing names of studies. It would also separate out studies as core versus contingent. Staff support the naming of studies for consistency, but leaving the determination of what is needed to the municipality. As we've talked about before, every application is based on its own merits and may have its own unique circumstances. 0314 relates to prescribed professionals for submission of certain studies. This aligns with recent changes to speed up deeming applications complete. Staff believe there should be some flexibility, as some studies may be able to be done by multiple professionals, or in some cases may necessitate an applicant completing that information, and they may not be in the listed professions. Staff note some suggestions in some instances where technical studies would warrant a specific profession. So, for example, a transportation impact study should likely be done by a professional engineer. 0315 speaks to upper tier official plans and secondary plans. The goal is to reduce repetition of policies from upper tiers and lower tier plans. Southgate isn't really at a size yet to warrant using secondary plans, but that's not to say we might not down the road. A very, I'll say, Western Canada approach to reduce this kind of repetition is to have all the policies that you usually include in each plan in one central location with a reference back, and then you do the site-specific policy. So that allows for it really reduces the size of any secondary plan. So we would, staff are generally supportive of that idea. Staff also suggests refining how upper tier plans relate to lower tiers in terms of certain policy amendments. So for example, if an OPA at our level at the township had no connection to county policies, there are some upper tier municipalities that simply don't act as the approval authority. They deem those OPAs to be approved by the lower tier council, since there's no policies that they connect with at the upper tier level. One of the other EROs that's listed is one from 2019 that has been recently reopened, and that is seeking comment on MZOs where progress has not really occurred. 2 in Southgate are listed, which is the Ida Street and Eco Parkway sites. We have been providing, staff have been providing to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing quarterly updates on MZO lands and progress, or lack thereof. We have had meetings with the developer who has indicated that market conditions are changing and we should see things moving for both files, and the county has also been contacted. So we are recommending that the MZO remain in place for both sites, particularly for Eco Parkway, because that helps facilitate the new ring road or bypass road in order to take traffic out of the core. Let's see here. The final item in our list is changes related to the Development Charges Act to exempt nonprofit retirement homes. Staff support the proposed changes, but because of the deadline, we had to submit those changes already. So you are seeing the comments that basically we submitted just before the close of the posting. We're also suggesting, and we're taking liberty from the county, providing a general comment that it would be nice if the province could give us some time to play catch up. And I think Scott mentioned that in his presentation from the county, and I felt that that was something that we really need to reinforce. We also note that the province is looking at regulations to harmonize road standards. We are going to speak with our staff to see if there's any proposed comments that they want to make in order to submit those before the deadline is done. And as part of this discussion, I'm going to be taking notes from the discussion we have with council, any questions, so that if there's suggested additions to comments, we can make those and submit them before the deadline. So that concludes my presentation, Your Worship. Happy to take questions.
Very good. Thank you, Ken. Are there any questions from council? Comments? Barb?
More of a comment. Thank you through you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ken. I can't imagine a more thorough report, reports, all three. I do question the financial implications. It would be curious to know just how many person hours were contributed to developing these responses to the province's multitude of EROs, because I mean, 6 people had input on this one alone. And one of the ones that we're going to be discussing had an engineer and consultants involved. I mean, the financial implications to the township are that you're spending your time constantly trying to keep up with what the province is passing down, and where you could be spending time on those planning files. So I appreciate the detail and the thought that's gone into it, and the implications that have that it would have on our township and the county. But yeah, if we can also add, could you give us some time? I like the idea of, can you give us some time to catch up? That would be great. Thank you.
Thanks, Barb. Any other? Martin, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Brian. I agree with Barb here. Good report. I agree with most of the comments. Just a couple of questions. Submissions of informational 0305. It says prohibiting enhanced development standards as condition, and it goes on in that paragraph. This would also prohibit any sustainability conditions. Could you expand on what that actually means? The sustainability part of land division?
So through Your Worship, that's a great question, and it's part of what we need some clarity on, because there may be instances where we have policies about green building design standards, or encouraging things like use of solar panels or other things to reduce the environmental footprint. So what the province is basically saying is any of those policies or conditions could not be imposed through the conditions of approval of any land division application. So, for example, the county recently did policies related to green development standards, and unfortunately, because of provincial changes, which include some of the areas that you've talked about, the county had really hoped to have this program be something that we could do as conditions and as required development. Unfortunately, because of provincial changes now, it's all voluntary. So the province really is seeing things like green roofs, for example, is a program that the city of Toronto requires of tall buildings. that now cannot be imposed through conditions of approval.
Jim, go ahead, please.
Yeah, just to Deputy Mayor DeBreen's point, the time that we're exhausting into these numerous EROs, that Grey County is proposing a delegation to the Municipal Affairs and Housing for to advocate for a pause on provincial legislation changes. So everyone's feeling a crunch about it.
Thanks, Jim. Mark, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Another one. I think 310, where you talk about site plan and you mention that community planning permitting system, and we're talking about money and hours and time here from staff. What is the difference? What is the difference between that CPPS and site plan? And is there more hours involved in doing that if that's an alternative?
Yeah, so through your worship, we've actually talked internally about looking at doing the CPPS program. Essentially, the community planning permitting system is a combination of site planning, minor variance, and it can also include rezonings. And it merges them all together into a permitting process. So for instance, if I wanted to rezone my property and the township had this CPPS system, I might then apply for a type of CPPS permit that would then allow for my property to be rezoned, and then through establishing a bylaw, you determine whether that would go to council for a decision. It could be delegated to staff. And it just allows a bit more flexibility in how things are done. It has been seen in the municipalities that use them that generally speaking, it does speed up things because in the case of how we do things right now, if you have a site plan and then suddenly you realize that, oh, I need a minor variance, we have to pause the site plan, they have to get a variance. It could be done through one permit process, that all of the site planning and minor variance could be approved as one. That said, in order to establish one, there's a whole bunch of policy background studies and things that have to be done as outlined in the Planning Act. And that's, I'll be frank, is beyond the capacity of the planning team at this point. If we're going to try to migrate to that, it would be something I would recommend that we'd want to spend some money to hire a consultant to do, because it can take a lot of time. There's also a public engagement process that has to happen in order to migrate to that system. It's something that we've been looking at and considering, though, and the province does seem to be encouraging municipalities to consider it, which is why part of our comments is suggesting that if they want us to migrate to that program, then they should provide some funds to help offset the cost of, if we need to hire a consultant, then that's what we need to do.
Thank you.
Another one?
I have a couple more, so if anybody else wants to say anything, but
Well, I'll go to Joan next,
Yeah.
and then I'll come
Yeah,
back to you.
that's
Joan,
one of the
go
points.
ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With respect to minimum residential lot size for your report ERO 0260311, it's good to see that you have pointed out the significant concern over the proposed minimum size lot based on the problem that we had in the new subdivision with snow removal and all of that. I'm really hoping that they will take that into consideration, and knowing that because we're in the snow belt, it's not just a one size fit all for some of these proposal that they're putting forward to. But it's great to see that you pointed it out, and also talk about the potential greater concern that we will be having in terms of the snow storage and the stormwater management. So that is good. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan.
Your worship, if I could, I'll just
please.
say that a lot of our comments are also repeated by Grey County in their submission that will go to respond to the minimum lot size. The minimum lot size. So I suspect that we will see very similar responses from a number of our partner municipalities throughout the county.
Very good. Thank you. Barb, go ahead.
Thank you. And I just wanted to clarify about the county's four-county green development or tri-county green development proposal. They consulted and worked very closely with developers. Much of the items that are in the green development proposal are already being incorporated by various developers. And it was always intended, and county council were concerned about creating more barriers and financial consequences to mandating it. It was always meant to be voluntary. So it's a program out there that you'd get extra points if you had this or that, or I'm not sure how I can't recall how it all works right at this very moment, but it was a voluntary program. It was based on points, and there were incentives that would come with that. So I believe that program can continue regardless of what the province is suggesting, just to Councillor Shipston's point.
Thank you, Barb.
Through your worship, if I may,
Please.
I believe the deputy mayor is correct. The changes will not impact the ability to opt in if you wish to do so. This was really, these changes were really around some of the larger municipalities like the city of Toronto that had, or even the city of Ottawa that had these sort of green roof standards and green building standards that were mandated, and the province felt that was adding too much of a burden, is what I understand.
Yep. Martin, you want to ask another question, please? Go ahead.
Kind of jumping on what Joan said, Ken, about the minimum lots. Said in your report that going down to that small a lot, are the builders themselves actually bound by this policy? Because if you're in a settlement area where they want to get the housing for the government, for the province, their numbers up. But if we as a township say, look, we're in the snow belt, we can't have that. Do we still have some kind of power to deal with the developer? Like, he wants to put as much houses up as he can, but if he knows he's coming into a spot like what we had last year, or are they mandated by the province to follow this in a settlement area?
So through your worship, yeah, it does. Through your worship, my understanding is that this would be implemented through an Ontario regulation. And so once it's in place, I don't know how much ability we're going to have, if any, to negotiate. I would hope, particularly with any of the developers that are working with us now, that they understand that we are in the snow belt. However, based on what we've been seeing in terms of how the province responds to these comments that are submitted, I'm not holding out much hope. Sorry, I know it's a gray day and I'm probably bringing some more clouds, but
Martin, you have another?
Yeah.
Yep. Carry on, please.
And the microphone, there's another $5. The one question that came out from the answer that you gave me about the community planning permitting system, if we ever go that route, no matter what it costs, you mentioned something that will be a blanket kind of form that will even cover minor variances. So hypothetically, down the road, what is our committee of adjustments going to be redundant? If that is going to look after all of those things, or is that it's kind of hypothetical, but just going from your end.
Through your worship, as I understand the CPPS system, part of what the background study and eventual bylaw does is it works to go through a public process of engagement where eventually council establishes who are the decision makers. So it doesn't necessarily mean that a committee of adjustment would be redundant, that it could be part of the process that certain types of community planning permits could be decided by committee of adjustment. That is an option that you could do.
Thank you. And as I said it beforehand, the comments are well, I like the way you put it. That's you know, you can't whitewash the whole province. Bruce and Grey counties is so big. You can't lump it all in. There's so many different barrels. So thank you for the comments.
Thank you, Martin. Any other questions? I had one, Ken. I wondered, some of these changes deal with intensification of the urban areas. How much of that drive is driven by the need to, or apparent need to save farmland as opposed to building more houses? Is it driven by both equally, or do you think the province is actually hearing that we need to save farmland?
Your worship, that's a great question. Taking the question from the perspective of provincial policy, I don't think that housing and loss of farmland, one outweighs the other. In fact, the PPS says that you have to read all the policies within it equally. So from my perspective, I think this is an attempt to potentially reduce the amount of farmland that's being lost. However, you also have to take that with the fact that the ability to do a settlement area expansion has drastically changed. It's no longer restricted to the 5-year comprehensive review. The comprehensive review process is actually gone, which means that I could submit an application to the county tomorrow to request a settlement boundary expansion, and they have to review it. So I think you have to take it as an indication that yes, they want to see more intensive land use, but at the same time, they've also opened the process for settlement area expansions drastically.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Oh, Bill, you want to add something, please?
If I may, with Ken, to support what Ken said, they also took out of provincial policy limitations on creating new lots in rural areas. So I'm seeing across a lot of Ontario with clients that rural estate subdivisions are well on the rise. So I would say that I agree that they should be read equally, and that's what the province intends. I worry about the number of them, and I guess I start to think about where is this directing us all as municipalities? And I'm wondering if it is towards a community permitting system, and because a lot of things have come out in the last few years in terms of neighbors' appeal rights on all applications are gone. So it's moving to I think a system that maybe has less political and neighborhood involvement in the effort to streamline it. I can't say that for sure. I don't have kind of context to confirm that, but I think it's a good move to continue to be diligent on them. And the other thing that concerned me a little bit with all of these was it was specific in there that you're going to have to do these, and to council's concern about costs, these costs are yours. So that was unusual. You don't often see that. You often see it coming with a caveat that we'll work with you on the costs. So this was a little different. This all feels a little different to me. And I guess in June, I'll be 40 years at this and kind of seen it go through a number of cycles. So I think it's great that your staff isn't updating you on this, and that you're pushing back to figure out where it's going. But as to the issue of intensification and second settlement areas, I think they're definitely pushing that, but they're pushing housing at all costs everywhere. And I'm not sure that's a bad thing, but protection of agricultural land and prime lands, I think they're still fine there. So I just wanted to add that to what Ken had been saying and listening to council's discussion.
Thanks,
It
Bill.
just feels a little different.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Bill. Thank you.
Well, and
There's always-
if I may,
Yeah.
your worship,
Go ahead, Ken.
Bill's comments are actually very well put, particularly in light of the next item and the opening up of rural development. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, there's the law of unintended consequences. And as Bill said, I think there's a drive for more housing at all costs and at any cost in some respects, you're right. So we may see some unintended consequences, 5, 10, 20 years down the road. However, that'll be, somebody younger than me's problem. Any other questions or discussion on this one? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Moving on to the water and wastewater systems report. Someone care to move that, please? Barb, and Jim will second. Ken?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, your worship. The second item relates to 3 different ERO postings related to Water and Wastewater Public Corporations Act changes. So we've noted in the report the 3 that are open. ERO 0260301 relates to changes to make it explicit that no private ownership can occur for any water or wastewater public corporation. They are always to be in public ownership. There was some concerns with recent legislation changes that this might be the privatization of those systems, and the province wanted to make it explicit that that was not the intent. The changes also proposed to prevent debt transfer specifically by Peel Region, and employment and equity provisions for employees are carried forward from a municipality to that new corporation. Staff are suggesting that we generally support the changes, particularly to make sure that it's explicit that public corporations remain in public hands. The most significant ERO in this group is 0260302, which is legislation changes to require municipalities to give consents to non-municipal communal water and wastewater systems to support new housing development in rural areas. And this gets to the comments that Bill just made just a minute ago. This aligns with recent opening of provisions in the PPS to allow new rural developments outside of rural settlement areas. So what this means is that rural developments are no longer generally contained within those rural settlement areas like Holstein. There is the possibility that someone could develop a whole new residential community of a significant number of lots just outside of any rural settlement area. As staff noted previously, up until now, council had the ability to say no to these consents for these communal water or wastewater systems. The province is now flipping the script and making it difficult or basically impossible for municipalities to say no. The province is seeking suggested criteria, and to this end, we've had some interdepartmental meetings to put together our suggested criteria since they haven't provided any in the ERO, which includes a critical opt-out if significant things within the suggested criteria we've provided are not met, because we think it's important that these communal systems, we have access to do inspections along with the province, that we have access to information related to financial and reserve capacity and things like that. Staff have focused on providing suggested comments that if we must accept these consents, we have the most robust criteria possible that limits the risk to the township. Whether the province will accept these suggestions remains to be seen. The last ERO listing in this group is an invitation from the province for municipalities to express an interest in implementing one of these water or wastewater public corporations. At this time, there's not enough information known for us to see any value in responding to that particular ERO or and expressing an interest. There are also some broader concerns about this type of model in terms of how it may expand township, it may expand rural development outside of the settlement areas and create other unintended consequences, as you say, Your Worship. Staff note that there are not financial implications noted at this time. Simply responding, yes, does cost some staff time, but we do expect that there will be costs to the township down the road if we have to take over any of these systems. And I'm happy to discuss this further with council. Thanks.
Thank you, Ken. Any questions? Barb, please.
Thank you. And through you, thank you, Ken, again, and everyone who had input on this report. I think to the mayor's point earlier in the previous report about, is the urban intensification meant to protect our farmland? I think this just goes or flies in the face of that, in that now they're proposing that we can take farmland to create 100 homes or more, which not only takes farmland out of production, but creates additional conflict and setback issues or nuisance issues with the farming that surrounds those houses, as well as Grey County is an aggregate resource rich area, and there's protections on that. How will that be deemed, how will that all work into it? And I mean, to, the comment about Holstein, it's in a flood zone. So conservation lands, all of those things need to be considered when we are, mandated to approve a system in an area that could create another Walkerton. That's just my opinion. So, yeah, I am really concerned about this from an overall risk perspective and cost on the taxpayer, because bottom line is this all comes back on the taxpayer, on the property taxpayer. So whatever language can be employed in developing those standards, I think we need to consider that. Yeah, I am concerned about this one in particular.
Thank you, Barb. Any other questions, comments? Martin, go ahead.
Just
please.
a comment. I agree with everything that's been said in your comments, Ken. The cost, and Bill mentioned it, there's a cost. At what cost? And if we open up rural, the government doesn't seem to realize that all the small rural townships don't have the funding, where if a developer puts up these kind of houses, and we might have to take over the system, but even then there's a cost of new roads to look after, again, going to the snow, and there's going to be money spent, as you say, by the taxpayer every which way. So again, Ken, thank you for the comments. Send them in. And I think just pushing the rural aspect, because we don't have that much funding from the government anyway, we get it, but it's going to be a hit to the property taxpayers in Southgate. So, as well as taking another slice of autonomy away. So anyway, thank you, Ken.
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
I think I just want to add one more comment, in that the province is making decisions or mandating decisions today that affect our community over the next however many generations. It's our responsibility to plan for the future and to protect our future generations from potential risk. So I don't want to lose sight of that. And how do we get that through to the province of the long-term impacts of communal water and wastewater systems. I'm not sure what the answer is or whether or not it can be adequately communicated. But yeah, I'm at a loss on this one.
So your worship, if I could,
Yes, please.
I think what all of council, and I'll include Bill's comments and mine, are really doing is fundamentally getting to the question of what kind of communities are we building? If you look at the previous provincial policy statement, I think it would have been unfathomable to most planners that you would propose a brand new rural community outside of a rural settlement area like Holstein. You would just simply expand that settlement area and then and you would add on to it, because then you've got the housing adjacent to, hopefully, or part of a rural settlement area that had services like, some shopping, some doctors, things like that. What I think most of us were caught off guard by was the new PPS opening up the rural area. And I think Councillor Shipston, you and the deputy mayor and the mayor have caught on to, it's not just about the potential cost implications of taking over a wastewater system or a rural development. It's also the implications that if you're putting 100, 200 homes out in a rural area, what are the implications to those new residents in terms of their expectations of the services that they receive? Because if those roads that that new community is attached to are not winter maintenance, or they're not paved to a certain standard, you can expect that those folks are going to be demanding of council that those roads be upgraded. And it's not just going to be, okay, let's take this dirt side road and pave it to the extent of the community. They're going to want it paved to the greatest extent possible to improve their ability to access roads. It's going to further expand the wear and tear on roads, because we didn't expect 100 or 200 homes to suddenly appear in location X. And it's going to have all these other these other things. It's to me, it's the snowball effect. And the next report on Parkland is yet again another, I think, as you say, your worship, unintended consequence, and just keeps begging the question, what kind of communities are we really trying to build to satisfy the housing need?
Thank you, Ken. Jason, you had a question or comment?
It was more of a comment. I can't help but for Barb saying looking into the future. I get we have to do that 100%. I think with all this report, Ken, a lot of stuff in there, and I know it's the government's pushing it on us. Just driving here today and passing the Mennonite kids driving on their bikes going to school, and I can't help but, I know we got to look for the future, but all of this stuff we've talked about here today, we're talking on both sides of our mouth. We want to save farmland, but we want to build a whole bunch of houses in Dundalk. I think we have to decide if we want to be a rural or an agriculture community, maybe we have to decide that that's what we want to focus on rather than building more houses. I know that it sounds too simple, but I think we just got to take a step back. And I brought it up in the first report about the arena consultants. As far as I'm concerned, all this stuff the government does, and we're as much to blame as it is, it's just a job maker for people. What was wrong with how they did it 25 years ago? They just decided it was common sense. And I get it's not you or whoever. I'm just saying we got to get back to that instead of just creating jobs. The environmental stuff, like it should be not mandatory. It should be voluntary. Yes, right. I don't know. I know that's put it simple. Try to put it too simplistic, but I don't know. We just got to push back, as I think.
No, you're right. You're right. And that's what we're doing here with the discussion, is how to push back. I had one question, and maybe Taylor could help me with this one, if you wouldn't mind, Taylor. The notion that a public corporation would take on to build infrastructure, presumably in the township, but it would not affect the debt level of the municipality as we, know it currently. But inevitably, if that public corporation got into trouble and it was created to build infrastructure for the township, would the township not still be on the hook for that debt? I mean, the taxpayer is going to be ultimately, and I can almost bet that if thing goes south, the province is going to be pointing at Southgate saying, well, you put that corporation in place, you pay the bill. Is that, do you have any concerns around that?
For sure. I would say my assumptions are likely the same as yours. There is some kind of precedence on that where I know other things I was looking into was the city of Kingston is looking into incorporating their wastewater. It's kind of similar concept, right? Well, they'll still be on the hook, right? Like weather dependent of now their municipal debt level is maybe reached or close to exceeding, they still have that water debt. So who then pays for all of it?
Right.
I think it's probably the same situation.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions, comments? Madam Clerk, you have your mic on. Go ahead, please.
I'm just wondering if Dustin has any comments. We did ask him to come for
Well, I
this,
see
but
Joan has her hand up too, but I'll go to Dustin first and then I'll come back to Joan.
I
Sorry,
just
Joan.
love putting Dustin on the spot today.
Well, that's okay. That's what he's here for.
That's
That's
right.
Yeah, he really
That's
came
right.
for this report.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah, I think what Ken's report is conveying is that, there's things that need to be figured out if this is going to happen. The risks for the township are financial. And I think if we are going to be forced into doing this, we need to make sure that the systems that they do install are up to our standards. And everything is, we can inspect as we need. We get that reporting. We have that financial assurances that, the intent being that the existing ratepayers are not bearing the cost of this. And that's something that we're trying to suss out with these comments back to the province. I think the idea that these water systems be public corporations is good, because if public corporations have the right goal in mind, whereas private corporations tend to have, shareholders and things like that are not having the same public interest. And so for that reason, this is good. But like I said, we need to protect the township's interests from a financial and operability perspective.
Thanks, Dustin. Joan, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ken, these reports and these new houses or MZO that we're talking about, from my recollection, these were mandated or approved a long time ago, and you're just bringing forward your report and working on making sure that everything should be okay for all these old MZO and which would be new houses that are coming on the old MZO, but not something new that we are approving now, but just to make sure that we're in compliance and everything is good in terms of waste management, water, and all the other stuff that would be included in the Municipal Act. Is that correct?
So through your worship, the MZO lands apply to expanding the settlement area of Dundalk, and those new homes would be on sewer and water. So they wouldn't be using a communal water or wastewater service. This report is really focused on rural development that could happen outside of those settlement areas.
So these would be new MZO, or they're just acting on the lands that they had purchased years ago?
So through your worship, this isn't specific to Flato. This is specific to any developer in the rural area that might want to come forward and do a residential development in the rural area. whether that's done through an MZO or whether they come in for a rezoning, it would apply to either.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Joan. Jim, you have your hand up. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, Corey and I had a meeting with a public corporation, water wastewater advisor, and we had got a little bit more detail. But seems to me it's not at this point set up for these rural type systems. It's more for the ongoing current systems that are municipally owned. And when this corporation gets set up, the any debt that's still being carried right now by the township for water and wastewater cannot be brought into the corporation. They're two separate. The new corporation starts at a new ground zero by the sound of it. And I guess maybe that's part of this DC reduction thing or whatever, is that they can help you assist in getting longer term debt over for bigger projects over a longer period of time. So we are committed to having further discussion with more staff involved, looking at the corporation model. As noted, Mapleton just was initiated the corporation not too long ago. We heard about it at Roma, and it's something that we will be discussing with council. It may not be the right time with the election coming up, but to get into the corporation model, it takes about 6 months to get to the stage that you're incorporated. So that's just a little bit of background about that.
Thank you, Jim. That perhaps a subtle difference that I certainly wasn't aware of, but that's good information to know. Martin, you had your hand up. Do you have a?
Yeah, just a comment from the discussion around the table, and then quite fortuitous that Jim mentioned it about talking to that professional, because I was glad to see that the government doesn't want to privatize the system, and all the debt. But I remember going to a conference where there was a couple of people in the trade show that were actually water companies that would come into a municipality where perhaps they didn't have the manpower for the system they had. And it's not about building new infrastructure. These people will come in and manage it, basically getting rid of it. Would that, Jim or Taylor, would that be another side that they haven't touched? Because if anything goes wrong with the people taking it over, would we still be on the hook because we hired those?
Yep.
So there's two prongs to this, actually, Ken. Oh, no, but
Good question.
but that it's just popped up. So we certainly don't want to see that.
So Taylor, or do you want to defer to
If
Jim? I see his head.
That's a comment add.
Okay, Jim, do you want to have a run at that, please?
Yeah, so for a long time, Aqua was established to help system operations throughout the province, as well as now there are other private companies. One, for example, is Veolia. They do water and wastewater operations. Shelburne uses one of their services, Aqua. I believe West Gray is Veolia. But anyhow, where they don't get into the side of infrastructure building. That would still be on the municipal piece, but we kind of question that in some of our discussions about this is, well, if we're going to be forced to this, why doesn't Aqua take these systems over out in the rural? Because the province controls them. Why don't they push it to Aqua? But that doesn't seem to be an answer that we're going to get that will go that way.
Thanks, Jim. Monica, I see your hands up. Go ahead, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you, just through you, Chair. It's just a comment, just hearing the discussion, and my understanding is that a lot of these decisions that were made happened in previous council terms before 2022, for example, 2012 and 2018. So with those two, in terms of these decisions being made, and now we have what we do now, to go back and try to undo those decisions with things that have become so permanent. I think it's really important that we continue to work towards what the staff have looked at to be the recommendations. And I'm not sure about the word progressive, but there is going to have to be a good balance of finishing what has started, balancing the growth that's coming, and at the same time, just being mindful that the decisions have been made now, and this term of council have been trying to navigate the previous council's decisions. So, because just hearing some comments about, taking things back, and I just don't see that that could be something that's going to be productive, especially with so many things have been permanent. But just want to thank staff, especially Ken, for this report, and also on the previous item. They're very comprehensive, and I kind of see that they're working together, these two reports you brought forward. So that was just my comment today.
Thank you, Monica. Okay, good discussion. Any further questions? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. We'll do the final planning report and then we'll take a break unless anybody is in dire need of we're good. All right. The next report is regarding parkland dedication proposed changes. Someone care to move that, please? Jim, thank you. Martin will second. Ken.
Thank you, Your Worship. So yes, this is related to changes proposed through Bill 90 to the Planning Act. These changes relate to developer identified lands for park space and what is called privately owned public spaces, or POPs. The proposed changes would allow both to count towards municipal parkland dedication, even if these spaces have encumbrances on them like easements. And so that's a change that's happened previously. Usually we would obtain parkland that had no encumbrances. Now a developer can propose parkland that has encumbrances like utility easements on them. If not accepted by a municipality, a formal decision with reasons would have to be provided, which would then be appealable to the Ontario Land Tribunal. And the tribunal could order a municipality to accept what parkland is proposed by the landowner. The proposed legislation would outline some criteria of land that could not be dedicated for parkland purposes, and to ensure that, which includes things like ensuring that the land has access, visibility, and comfort of use. An attestation would also be required as part of the formal documentation provided by the landowner. Staff note that a landowner can already appeal to the OLT on the issue of parkland via conditions of approval. So it seems like this is just creating yet another route of an appeal when one already exists. There is also some serious concern that these changes may bypass policies that the township has created, or that any municipality has created for that matter, related to parkland dedication. There may also be unintended consequences to potential parkland arrangements with organizations like school boards if a municipality was looking to co-develop or co-locate park facilities. The proposed regulation also does not align with the Planning Act regulations. It creates a concern that the focus is too much on a private developer dedicating land, where the act gives a municipality three choices, which is to take land, to take a portion of land and cash in lieu for the remainder, or simply just take cash in lieu, period. What we're concerned about is that the OLT doesn't necessarily have those options, and that needs to be clarified, where we would normally have those options in a negotiation. Staff also note, rather tongue-in-cheek, that most of the concerns that the province is expressing through these regulation changes would actually be able to be addressed in most cases if the pre-consultation process had not been deemed to be voluntary instead of mandatory, which was a change made several changes ago. And so we are encouraging the province to reconsider that situation, because frankly, most of these issues that they are attempting to regulate could be dealt with through some conversations between the township and the county as the subdivision approval authority and an applicant through that pre-consultation process. I will leave it at that, and I will just thank all the interdepartmental discussion that we had, not just for this report, but all the previous reports, so that we could make sure that those views from other departments were represented. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Ken. Are there any questions, comments? Martin, go ahead.
Just a comment, all this talk about parkland and the site plans, subdivision plans, and the developer can saying, I'm gonna put this into a parkland, and you just can't saying we have 3 options. It's just one of those things that I find, and it was mentioned, some things the province is doing that don't really gel together. Like you have a new subdivision and there's all this talk about having parkland where it's becoming quite muddled by the sound of it. You know, the Building More Houses Act, if they get rid of the parkland or make it harder, you know, we're talking about costs here, not just money. Down the road, those communities are gonna need that parkland no matter what, because then it helps health and welfare with the walking, getting out in the park, kids something to do. There's other costs, societal costs. I don't know why they want to play with parkland. Like if anything, this is just personal comment. If a developer is going to come in and build houses, he's got to have to build a community. And that parkland is that part of the community. They should be told 3 acres, or maybe they are right now. Ken, are they told if you have a 20-acre lot, 2 acres is supposed to be dedicated to parkland? And will this get rid of that?
So through your worship, there are requirements in the Planning Act for parkland dedication, and it's based on a formula within the act that I'm not able to recall at this point. But yes, there is a certain percentage that they would have to dedicate. The township has its own parkland policy, which I believe is D4 or D7, one of the two, which sets out how we want to develop parkland in terms of, you know, setting out a criteria and an order of operations of certain sizes of parks. So I'll give you an example. If I was a developer and I came forward and I had 100 acres of land, and let's say, I think the number is 2%. So let's say I had to dedicate 2 acres to be parkland. Under the policy that the township has, I can either dedicate it as one large park, or through discussions, we can break it up and move pieces around so that there's a certain type of park here, a certain type of park there, and it's spread out throughout the community. I think the province is concerned that there have been instances where developers have been over dedicating, and they don't think that that's necessarily the right thing to do. And what I'm concerned with in terms of these proposed changes is things like what we have in the new Flato subdivision, where they've built a park along the municipal drain. Is this really going to create an opportunity where something like that, which is actually a community benefit, it makes for a nice walking trail and a nice experience in that community, are we now going to be precluded from being able to do that? And it just goes to the bigger question of what kind of community are we developing in the end? Is it housing at all costs, or are we actually thinking about these other pieces like the health and well-being of people who are in those communities? And Bill just texted me it's 5%, so I'd have to give you 5 acres in my 100-acre scenario. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Martin. We have our own personal fact checker here. Any other questions, comments? Okay, not seeing any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Let's see, it's almost 10:15. Let's reconvene and say 10:20. We are recessed. Okay, it is 10:24. We'll bring the meeting back to order. And we are on staff reports. Next one is regarding Public Works Department regarding tender awards and the recommendations from the various bids. So I need a motion to Jim and Barb. Thank you. John, please.
Morning, everybody, through the chair. Yeah, this report just outlines the results from our tenders for the capital projects this year for the roads. And we're just seeking council's approval to award the culvert replacement, cold in place and paving tender for Side Road 03 to Cox Construction for $1,557,000. The cold in place and double surface treatment tender to Cox Construction as well for a total of $397,578. Now, I will note on that one, the tender was for cold in place and double surface treatment, but Cox's tender was actually cold in place and then actually hot mix asphalt, which is a better product than the surface treatment. And they were still cheaper than the surface treatment. And finally, the microsurfacing tender to Duncor Enterprises for a total of $186,110. You take any questions?
Very good. Thank you, John. Questions? Martin, go ahead, please.
Yeah, John, good to see all the road work being done. The culverts in number 1, are they gonna just replace what's there? Because I know over the years you've replaced, but maybe added to for the water flow. Are they gonna be the steel? Are they gonna be that big thick plastic? Just curious on what kinds or any changes?
Through the chair, no, we'll just kind of replace for like what's there. Most of them will be plastic. There is one big one at concession 10 where it crosses. There's a big one that's too big for plastic. It'll have to be a steel one, but yeah.
Hey, John, any other questions? Barb?
Thank you. And through you to John, I appreciate everything falls within the budget. Are they coming in like right on budget, or are we going to achieve a little bit of some savings there? I know kind of the fact that you didn't say what you didn't say probably says they're probably right on the mark.
No, there should be between the 3 projects, at least a couple $100,000 in savings.
Thank you. Oh, Joan, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John, this is just a off the road question. I know this company came in and delegated, was it Canu? What was it again? I can't remember, Lindsay. Or did we go through them for these tenders, or you just go back your normal route? Because I remember when this organization came in and gave us this delegated about how to get savings and going through for or tenders and stuff like that. So I was just wondering if you went through that or it's just your normal route.
Through the chair, no, we did not. It was Canoe was the name of the company. We didn't go through them for these tenders. They're more for products, not for services.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Jason?
Just wonder what the timeline on this stuff, John, is it early summer, late summer, or just? They've had a few calls for a couple of roads.
No, they're kind of as soon as possible for some of them. So yeah.
Good question, because yeah, the roads, some of them are, they've been beat up pretty bad over the winter. Jim?
Just a question about, so if we have these savings, are there other road projects we could do with the savings then to get some more road work done?
I'm not sure there's enough savings to do that, and I wouldn't want to run into overages and end up having to find more money than at the end of the day. I'll try and keep Taylor happy for 1 year.
Savings is good. Road work's good too. Any other questions? Okay, not seeing any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, John. On to the finance department. We have a report here regarding additional grants and donations. Someone care to move that, please? Somebody, Jason and Barb. Taylor.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. So the Dundalk Young at Heart reached out to me a few weeks ago with a grant application. They did submit a grant and donation application for the total being $1,500. Since we only have the $900 left in the fund, that is what I'm suggesting and recommending that we approve. But I'm glad to take questions or recommendations from council.
Very good. Thank you, Taylor. Are there any questions? Barb?
Not really a question, but perhaps we could provide them with some feedback that the fire department is always happy to go in and provide those education sessions. The food bank volunteers, Southeast Grey Community Health Center will happily provide tax education and in fact provide tax return completion for the lower to mid income households. And I know that the Grey Bruce OPP have individuals that go out and provide those education on fraud, specifically have had presentations out in the community. So if there was an opportunity that they could pursue that, then I would follow up on that.
Sure.
So, you know, I mean, if you don't have to pay for it, then go for it. But I see that there's some other things that they would like to pursue that likely wouldn't be offered through our nonprofit or service providers currently.
Thank you, Barb. Any other questions? Oh, Joan, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just following up on what Deputy Mayor said. Yeah, there are quite a few other ways they could go about maybe for some of the stuff that they want, like retiring and low income. Southeast Grey Community Health Center will be having 2 sessions on that. So I will probably notify them. There is also Remembering Our Friends, and there's also Power of Attorney and Wills. And these are all sessions that are coming up in May and June. So maybe I could reach out to the Dundalk Young at Heart and give them these information so they won't have to pay for that. And the balance of the money that they're getting, they could probably put it towards something else just to add on to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Go ahead. Do you want to?
A quick question to feed off of Councillor John. If they are able to secure these education sessions at no cost, they would then have to return what they don't use, correct? Because the grant is specifically for what they applied for.
Yeah, their application was quite lengthy and I didn't want to put the whole thing on here, but it was also for the dinner events that they host and other things like that. So I'll make sure that they stick to what the application says, but this is just kind of a rundown of what they're offering to the community so that if anybody read the agenda, that they could know where to reach out to.
Very good. Thank you.
Sorry, thank
No, that's good. All right, moving on. The next report is regarding some more tax adjustments. I think we did a couple last meetings. See, there's another one here. Someone care to move this, please? Jim, second by Joan. Thank you. Taylor.
Thank you, and through you again, Mr. Mayor. So unfortunately, this report, I said in the application, it was destroyed by fire. In conversation with the fire chief, it was actually just demolished by the property owner. So I just wanted to make that clarification in here. So yeah, so the property was taken down, I believe, 2024. Sorry, I have lots of applications like these on the go currently, unfortunately. I guess fortunately and unfortunately, because a lot of these are being rebuilt, which is good as well. So yeah, so the total being approved for return to the resident is $4,503.97.
Okay, thank you, Taylor. Any questions? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Oh,
That is carried. Did you have something else, Taylor?
Yes, sorry, I had the report flipped as well. It's still the exact same amount. It's just which year it's related to and the section of the municipal act that the write-off is relating to. Thank you, Barb.
Very good. Thank you. Oh, Martin? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just looking at it there, Taylor. So if this house was demolished, or even if it was by fire and it took 2 years to rebuild or not rebuild, what would they still be paying taxes on that land, or would it become like that $40 vacant land? Like, does it change the residential zoning of it? It's kind of a weird question, I know, but
No, it's okay. I'm still kind of learning this myself. It doesn't change the zoning of it. It just brings the assessment value to
the assessment, that's
whatever
what I
it
thought.
is, right?
Yeah.
So if the property is totally demolished, then it would bring it down to zero and then they wouldn't pay residential taxes. But if there was still an element of whether there was commercial zoning on that property or farmland on that property, they would still pay those because those are untouched.
Thank you for asking my question. That's the way I wanted it to sound.
Very good.
Thank you, Taylor.
Okay, moving on. The next report was the annual treasurer's statement regarding development charges and an amendment for the 2023 year. Someone care to move that, please? Martin, thank you. Barb, second it. Taylor.
Okay, and through you again, Mr. Mayor. So the Development Charges Act states that by every March 31st, you have to have the previous development charges released. So you can see I am amending the 2023 statement. I have not released the 2024 statement. Obviously, council is aware of the state that we're in with our audits. So in my mind, it is a better way to release these statements once the audit is complete, because in this case, we had a big swing related to our financial statements that was material, and which is why ultimately I decided to amend the statement. If you review the 2023 statements against the 2023 development charges statement, you'll see that the final balances are the same. There were some adjustments and some slight variances in the beginning balances, but going forward, we will have them match to the statements exactly. I will be releasing a 2024 one shortly as the 2024 audit is coming to an end. I will probably release a 2025 just as a preliminary one, so we are in compliance with the DC Act, but that there likely will be small amendments coming forward as through the audit, there tend to be some small adjustments come up, but if it's material, I will amend it.
Okay, thank you, Taylor. Any questions, comments? Okay, call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Taylor. Legislative Services, we have a report here from the Clerk's Department regarding the Integrity Commissioner who is retiring. So we need to make some adjustments for that. Barb will move that. Seconder. Martin, thank you. Madam Clerk, Lindsay, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Milne. Yeah, so we received this letter that I attached from Jeffrey and Janice of a termination notice for our Integrity Commissioner Services. They are looking to end it as of January next year. So their current contract was to go to the end of 2027, but I mean, if everyone read the letter, you'll see their comments there, which we can appreciate with a lot of potential amendments coming up, which I touched on in my report there through the provincial government. So we kind of, a few of us clerks sort of, oh my gosh, did you receive that? So we've kind of chatted briefly. It is on our next clerk's agenda to look at working together again like we have in the past. If for some reason that doesn't work out, then we would release our own. I did say in the report that we would hopefully have a new integrity commissioner effective for January 1. But Brianna up in Owen Sound made a great point that we should have it in place for the new election so that, or sorry, the new council after the election so that council-elect can have training with our new integrity commissioner. So yeah, I think that was a great point. So we're going to work on this this summer, and yeah, we wish Jeffrey and Janice all the best and thank them for their service, and like they said that they would be helpful for us during the transition, which I have no doubt about. So I guess I'll just take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. And yes, absolutely. Jeffrey and Janice have been very good to Southgate. They've answered a lot of questions. Or I would say most of the counselors at one time or another and staff. So yes, we do wish them all the best in the future. So that said, any questions on the report? Martin?
Lindsay, when you talk on to your fellow professionals, the other clerks, it says here, should a joint venture be determined not to be feasible, would that be because of cost, because of geographic, because of just, or would it be far better for us to have our own?
No, I don't think so. I
No.
mean, we did have the same integrity commissioner because it's just easier. We all have the same codes of conduct. We can share ideas. It's just easier for collaborating. So I don't expect that we wouldn't move forward together. I just wasn't sure. You never know. Some of the municipalities may have a different idea and kind of want to opt out, but that doesn't preclude a smaller group of us working together. So I don't foresee us not doing it together, but I just threw that in there just in case. Then I would have council's support to release our own RFP because it is legislated. We have to have an integrity commissioner and yeah, but I don't foresee us. Oh, and the other thing that I did miss is the County of Grey is also involved. I mentioned like lower tiers in here, and that might have kind of been missed, or overlooked, but absolutely working with Tara and the county as well.
You, Barb?
Yes, thank you. And I know that the county has used Principles Integrity to date as well. So it's good that everybody's at the table. I think, one of the issues or factors that may prevent a firm taking on all might be their capacity to do so. But it's interesting to me to note in their letter that Principles Integrity actually were one of the firms that were part of the core group that developed the codes of conduct and the integrity commissioner layout and advised the province, and they have concerns with the direction the province is going. So writings on the wall there. We'll see where it goes, but you have my full support, and I'm glad that that you're having those collaborations with the county, just as county and other municipalities, just as we often do.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Lindsay. Moving on to the CAO, we have a report here regarding the annual conference in this year in August, and what we'd like to see in terms of delegation requests. So I need a mover. Barb and Jim, thank you. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, so as council was aware that our Good Roads delegation requests were not pursued due to those ministries apparently not attending Good Roads. So there are 3 that we submitted for that. One was Ministry of Health again about the ongoing need for care in Dundalk and surrounding area, and as well as the beaver trapping that we were pursuing as well for compensation program establishment. And then the Ministry of Education for joint use of playgrounds and facilities. I think we should carry on with the health delegation and pursue that for sure. The drain one doesn't seem to be getting much traction, but they've never let us speak to them either. So it's a possibility we may get something. But the third one, the joint use of the education buildings, we've had recent meetings and there seems to be a mutual agreement that there could be possible uses. We've been in talks in the last month or more with Blue Water as well as the Catholic School Board. So both of those hit the topic list. So I think that one maybe can go to the wayside. And then for other possibilities, we have MTO, again, pursuing about the Highway 10 intersection with Eco Parkway. The one news on that front is that the traffic impact study has been put to MTO. The only thing with that, it came back that it would be another 10 or 12 week review. So again, another waiting game, even though, we've been through a lot with them. And the other one was municipal affairs and housing delegation to keep pursuing the MZOs. Just due to the fact that there are some municipal contributions in both them and MZOs that could be in jeopardy. So, and then we would like to take any other recommendations that council may have for any other delegations requests.
Thanks, Jim. Are there any questions or other suggestions, Barb?
Thank you. And through you, hi, Jim. The one thing I wondered if we were to request a delegation with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing on the MZOs, but also to elevate the concern about reduced lot size. Perhaps we could do it jointly with the county or ask the county to add our concerns about the ability to move snow, the ability to store snow, that rural isn't Toronto and that we need to take a rural lens to that there needs to be flexibility in rural Ontario. 175 square meters, 1,800 square feet, where is there life outside of your four walls? That type of thing. And even the elevation of those houses, you put a house on a 175 square meter lot, you're only going up to get your full, 2-3 bedrooms, a kitchen, a place to watch TV. You're already eaten up almost all of it. Well, at least half. Anyway, that's another issue. But I just wondered if we did ask for one with Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, that we could, maybe elevate that topic.
Jim?
Noted. Again, if council decides these are our delegation requests, then for sure we'll add those comments.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Not seeing any. Call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Jim.
Yep.
Any notices of motion? Not seeing any. Consent agenda. Does anybody wish any of those to be removed? Barb?
Thank you. I'd like to pull, still for information, but to pull for comment 11.6, the AMCTO correspondence.
Okay. Thank you. Any others? Okay, so the motion be it resolved that council receive the consent agenda dated May 6th of 2026. Save and accept item 11.6 for information. Someone care to move that, please? Jim and Joan. All those in favor? That is carried. 11.6 is AMCTO correspondence. Oh, it doesn't matter.
I'll move it for information. If there's a seconder, then I would favor the mayor has the letter in front of him.
Seconder? Martin,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay. Yeah, the successful graduation from AMCTO's Executive Diploma in Municipal Management. Well done, Lindsay. I don't know when you find time to do these kinds of things.
Thank you. I guess I'll leave it at that.
Well, it's impressive and
Thank you very
it
much.
speaks to the, I would suggest the culture that we have cultivated here in Southgate, that everyone is encouraged to expand their bounds of knowledge and expertise. So well done,
Totally.
Lindsay. Thank you very much.
I guess I'll just add, I'm not the only staff member that
Oh, I know.
takes on these things.
I know.
So we're gonna try to do better at putting this stuff on the agenda, so
Very
so
good.
council's aware of
Yep.
everyone else's accomplishments as well.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Joan, go ahead.
Thank you. Am I muted? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually was going to pull it too, so thank you, Barb. Just want to say congratulations, Lindsay, on completing your diploma. It's always a significant achievement. I thought myself was going to be a lifelong student until I decided to cut it out. So it's just good to know that our clerk is current and always pursuing higher education. So you're in the know. So thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Jones.
Very good. Any other comments? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. General announcements. Does anybody have any interesting information they'd like to share with council and the community? Joan, you have your hand up. Is that for this item or? Okay,
No, thank you. I have nothing to share.
very good. Monica, go ahead, please.
Just wanted to wish, because we have Mother's Day this weekend, I believe so, if not mistaken, this Sunday. So I just wanted to wish all the moms out there, those that are moms to their own kids and mother figures, very wonderful Mother's Day, and celebrating it, and to all of Southgate and beyond.
Thank you, Monica. Anyone else? Madam Clerk.
I just wanted to note that it is McHappy Day, which is a great,
Absolutely.
go support it.
Right on. That's good. That's good. I would just comment briefly that we had a very successful Smile cookie campaign at Tim Hortons in Dundalk. I know Joan and myself and Barb, and I don't know where any of the other counselors out to that one. And me have been in, and I'm sure everybody bought cookies at one time or another through over the course of the week. So congratulations to everyone that participated in that, and congratulations. So, all right, bylaws. We have I don't know, I kind of got lost in my, how many bylaws?
Just the one, it's
Just the one?
the 2022, 2026 tax rate.
Right, okay. So that bylaw, be it resolved, the following or bylaw dated today, save and accept. Does anyone want that bylaw pulled for more discussion? Nope. Okay, be read a first, second, third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor or the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation and entered into the bylaw book. Would someone care to move that, please? Martin will move that. And Joan will second that. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. So we have a closed meeting to attend to today. Be it resolved, the council proceed into closed session at 10:52 in order to address matters relating to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, specifically acquisition of land update and litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality of a local board. And specifically, that is a litigation update. Both those are verbal updates, I understand. And that all those required remain in attendance. Would someone care to move that, please? Martin, and second by Jim. Thank you. All those in favor? That is carried. We shall now go into closed session. Okay, we are back in open session and I can confirm that we only discussed those items that were on the closed meeting agenda. Confirming bylaw. Someone care to move that, please? Jason will move. Monica will second. All those in favor? That is carried. Barb will move. We adjourn. Is there a seconder? Jim will second. All those in favor? That is carried.